Hello and welcome. My name is Frances and I'm an academic advisor in the College of Engineering at UC Santa Barbara. Thank you for joining me today as we discuss the ins and outs of taking less than 12 units in your final quarter at UCSB. Today, I'll make sure we're all on the same page as far as what is full-time status versus a part-time status. We'll talk about the appropriate situations when you can receive permission to take less than 12 units, and then I'll go through the process and the paperwork required. So full-time status has been defined as being enrolled in 12 units during a regular quarter. A regular quarter is fall, winter, or spring. This is generally required for any student in the College of Engineering. It especially can be important for any students who are trying to maintain financial aid eligibility, students who are F1 visa holders, students who participate on a team that's an NC2A sport, and students living in university-owned housing. Full-time status possibly could be required for other affiliations that you may have as well. So when a student is in their final quarter and they notice that they don't need 12 units to graduate, they may ask if they can drop below 12. And I have good news. That is one of the situations where if you are in your final quarter and you are graduating, you may receive permission to take less than 12 units. It's called a deficit load. However, if you have any sort of affiliation with the entities on the screen, we strongly encourage you to discuss the implications that taking less than 12 units might have. Is there going to be any effect to your financial aid benefits or living in university-owned housing for your visa status? And again, other personal affiliations, so perhaps private scholarships that you receive. Does your internship require you to be in full-time standing? Are you an officer in an org? Do you get a discount for your car insurance? That type of thing. Now, you may have found this presentation and you may not quite be at the stage of graduating, and you might be wondering if you can still take less than 12 units. And the answer to that is maybe. It really kind of depends on a couple of the circumstances. So if you are a student who is working more than 20 hours a week, the answer is likely. Forms and documentation are required, but we will want to discuss with you kind of what that does to your study plan and your time to degree. Now, if you are an individual who's taking care of a dependent family member, so you are a parent who taking care of a child, or perhaps you are taking care of an aging parent, then that is likely to be approved. And again, forms are required. You may have a medical situation which makes 12 units difficult. The answer to that is possibly approvable. We would, of course, need the appropriate medical documentation. Now, if you're a student who just doesn't need 12 units, you came in with a lot of AP credit, it's a little more complicated and nuanced. And so we would encourage you to talk to one of the 4 advisors in the College of Engineering. And again, no matter what, if you have any sort of affiliations, university-owned housing, etc., please make sure you talk with those bodies as well as talk with an advisor in the College of Engineering. So again, returning to our scenario of final quarter for graduation, you don't need 12 units. If you are going to request to take a deficit, the form is found on the CoE website under the Forms tab. You can actually submit this via email to the CoE info after you have enrolled in Pass 1 for the final quarter. So do make sure your schedule is set. And again, one other thing to pay attention to, though, is you have to wait till after you've registered, but it must be submitted before the final quarter begins. This is what the form looks like. And again, our email address is on the top here. You'll notice it actually says excess/deficit. We use this form for 2 different types of requests. So you will mark off deficit and go ahead and list the courses you're planning on taking, the total number of units. And I will draw your attention under the top, kind of by status, it says, have you declared candidacy for the effective quarter? Remember, this is valid in your final quarter for graduation. And part of the way you let the university know you are finishing is by declaring candidacy in gold. Now that it's a simple drop-down menu, it's open for a period of time for a particular quarter, and then it will close, and then it will reopen for the next quarter. So if you happen to pop in there today and it's not there, don't panic. It usually will pop up in the near future, and it always has a deadline as well. So, and those deadlines are listed in gold. So for students who plan on taking 10 units or less, they may request from the Office of the Registrar a partial refund of fees. However, again, if you're receiving financial aid, do make sure you've checked in because you need to know how much your aid might be reduced and kind of how the money compares if you're also getting the refund in fees. One important thing to note, you must have a deficit form approved by the College of Engineering to qualify for the partial refund of fees. This form also must be submitted to the registrar's office before the final quarter begins. My suggestion to you is that after you enroll in Pass 1 for the final quarter, go ahead and just email the two forms to the respective offices at the same time. This is the registrar's form. It's important to remember that this is only available if you are taking 10 or fewer units. If you are planning 11 units in your final quarter, that's fine. You can still take the 11 units, but you will actually pay full fees. Again, this form must be submitted prior to the final quarter starting. The Office of the Registrar is responsible for the fee refund eligibility, not the College of Engineering. Fees refunded are 50% of the quarter tuition. So if you look on the registrar's site and you see the breakdown of tuition and fees, it's the tuition that is cut in half. You still pay the rest of the fees for the quarter. Please note you do pay full fees in advance, and this is a credit back to your BARC account after the 5th week. Again, you have to declare candidacy for graduation for that final quarter on Gold, and this form goes to the registrar's office, and their email's on the screen. It's also on the top right of the form if you forget. Please follow up with us if you have any questions. We would love to discuss reasons why you may want to take a deficit or may not. If you have a quick question, come see us during our Zoom drop-in hours, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. If you also would like to go over your final degree requirements and have a bit more of an in-depth conversation, then go ahead and schedule an appointment with us. So I'm going to actually just change the navigation here briefly, and I'll show you on our website where you can find this information. So under the College of Engineering website, under the undergraduate tab, and then click academic advising. This brings you to the page on our screen where you can see our Zoom link and then the links to book with any of the 4 academic advisors. If you are looking for the forms where the deficit load resides, you can scroll down a ways. And again, you'll notice it's under the petition for excess or deficit program. And again, it's on the same form. You're just going to click the appropriate box. So you can download the petition here. You'll notice we've also linked to the Office of the Registrar form, so that way you can get that partial fee reduction form. And then one final thing, if you need a reminder about what some of those other affiliations might be, if you click on the risks of enrolling in less than 12 units a quarter, it will take you to this where we kind of remind you of some of the affiliations you may have to check in with to see if there's any sort of implication to taking less than 12. So again, the form is on our website. If you need to contact us, undergraduate, academic advising, and our Zoom for drop-in is here, or you can book a meeting with any of the 4 advisors. Thanks very much for your time, and we'd be happy to discuss this with you if you have any further questions. Take good care.